The new GODSPEED by Endorphin.es is a 6 HP VCO with complex analog waveshapers, auto-tuning and MIDI control. It's the successor module of the GODSPEED, which was their revolutionary auto-tuning VCO. And at just 6 HP, this delivers a powerful 2-operator FM voice all on its own. The module includes a white noise generator, as well as a pre-patched sub-oscillator with selectable sub-octaves. You can even achieve West Coast type tones using wave shaping, wave folding, and thru-zero frequency modulation. Okay, let's have a listen to the new GODSPEED. There's a lot that you can get out of this, especially for its size. So let's have a look at the outputs and what these dials do. And there's some hidden functionality in there as well, which we'll dig into. So first of all, I've just got a 1 volt per octave input from my sequencer going into the GODSPEED. It's just playing a C on a loop just so we can hear it. Let's hear it. So I'll take one of the 3 outputs, and these are simultaneous outputs, so you can use these all at the same time. I'll take the first one, which is the even odd output, plug that into my VCA. So there we can hear it. And as you might have guessed, this output actually kicks out both even and odd harmonics, but that's dependent on where you've got this dial here, the timbre dial. And that can be modulated with a CV input. Just turn it up a little bit. That's nice. So yeah, you can get a lot out of that. There's an octave switch here, by the way. So we can travel across 3 octaves, which is nice. I like that when I'm playing live. I'm a big fan of jamming with octaves. So this timbre dial essentially applies wave shaping to not only that output, but also the next output, which is the sine fold, which we'll have a look at in a minute. But there's more to talk about with this particular output. Just before we do, one thing that I'm going to do is, this is a really cool trick that you can do with this GODSPEED, is if you double tap this here, it means now that if I accidentally touch this pitch dial, it's not going to change the pitch of this, which is really, really useful, especially when you're doing a demo video like this, because the chances are I'm going to move it. And that's also really cool when you're playing live, because you can just lock that out. And actually, it's got more built in here in terms of the tuning as well, because if I take that off, and if we do change the tuning accidentally, if I hit this button, it will tune it back up to the note that I have set in it. At the moment I'm playing a C into it, as I mentioned, and I've got it set so that it will essentially it will look at the input of this 1 volt per octave input, and it will move the frequency of the oscillator to the nearest C. And that might be a lower octave, it might be a higher octave. But look at that, that's really cool. If you hold this button down for 4 seconds, it will actually scroll through C, G, and A. So depending what you're kicking out to it, if you kick out a C, have it set to C. If you're kicking out a G or an A, just have it set like that. It's a really cool thing to do just before you're playing live, or if you're doing a jam, you might just want to set that and lock it. And that's so cool. So let's tap that again. So I'm not going to change the tuning. Happy days. I'm happy about that. Right, let's go back to this output. As I mentioned, even and odd harmonics depicted by the timbre here, this wave shaping. But there's more actually coming out of this as well, out of this particular output. There's a sub oscillator coming out of it, which is actually below it. If I plug a dummy cable in, it removes it from that output. You hear it? And you can change the octave of that sub-octave as well. Again, holding down this button. So this is a multifunction button here, and changing the FM. Oh, I took it off the tune lock accidentally there. So there we go. Let's just put it back. There we go, back to a C. Right, hold this down, change this, and we can change the octave of that sub oscillator. So I believe that's -3 octaves, -2 at 12 o'clock, -1 when it's right around there, depending on what you want. So that's cool. Like I say, you can take that out by tapping it out there to remove it. I should mention, so as well as this timbre changing the wave shaping, there's also this FM dial here, which adds like even more kind of chaos, if you like, into it. And what this is doing, this is linear through zero modulation being applied. And it kind of interacts with this timbre dial as well, depending on where you've got those set. They kind of interact with each other naturally. So it's really kind of aggressive. Nice. Just before we go crazy, what I'm going to do is run an envelope into this VCA, which is the Squawk Dirty. So basically my VCA is going into this filter, the Squawk Dirty, but it's got a built-in VCA, which is really handy. There we go. We're not going to go as crazy now. Right. So that's that output. Let's now listen to the sine fold output. Now this, let's just put everything back to 0. This one, of course, is very soft sounding, given the fact that essentially it's a pure sine output from this VCO, and you can apply the wave shaping in the same way. Cool. Let's get a little riff going here. Let's bring in, yeah, so we've got the even odd there at the sine fold. So we're hearing them both mixed together there, depending on what you want. And as I say, this interacts with both of those outputs. And then lastly, we can take the sub output and just have that on its own. So that's now removed it from the output of the odd and even. And I believe we can change the octave of that. Actually, that sounds deep around that way. Let's bring in the other oscillator outputs. Cool. So we can bring up our sound, really shape the sound by using these 3 outputs all at the same time. guess we should have some drums really, just to put it in context. And I might as well take advantage of the sidechain input on the cockpit here. So my kick drum is just sidechaining that GODSPEED now. Nice. Okay, let's modulate some of this as well. Oh, actually, one thing that I've forgot to mention, with the odd and even outputs, let's just mute those. With the odd and even output, so we're just listening to that first one again, there's actually some white noise in there that you can add as well. And you can add that, again, hold this down, turn the timbre, and you can add that kind of white noise into it if you want to, if that's your thing. So not only can you add white noise, but you can also add the sub-oscillator into it. Let's add a little bit of modulation into this. So maybe we'll plug this into the FM index. Now when you plug something in to the CV input, these dials essentially become attenuators for that input. So I've just got an envelope here from MATTHS. If I turn it up. How it's adding that, and that attenuates it. That's going to change depending on what wave shaping you've got going on here with the timbre as well. In fact, let's add some modulation to that. So I've got another envelope here from MATTHS. So you can get an awful lot out of this using those outputs, mixing between them. A bit more of this one, take out the sub, add the sub. Nice. So we also have this thru-zero FM input as well. Now this is an AC coupled thru-zero linear FM audio input, and it takes minus to plus 5 volts. Its level's attenuated by the dial as well, but there's also an internal virtual sine wave, the identical frequency of the oscillator that's been applied when nothing's patched into it. So that sine wave's kind of interacting with that in a way. So you could plug some audio into this and make it interact. Now I'm actually going to take the output of the whole thing and plug it into itself. Try a different octave. So I'm going to take the pitch lock off. It's quite handy, isn't it, that pitch lock? Just try things out at different octaves. Yeah, cool. And we're not using any of the filter here, by the way, just using the VCA on it. You can hear how rich that is. I like that white noise that we've just added in using the timbre as well. You hear how it's kind of interacting. It's without it. With it. Makes it kind of dirty sounding in a way. Okay, let's add some effects actually, just to give it a little bit more context as well. So I'll run into the audio input of the Milky Way, which will give us some nice reverb. And I'm just going to patch that into my mixer. So mixer there. One of these audio input. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it after the VCA from that filter. Just to add a bit of space to it. Yeah, so it's a very rich oscillator. A lot you can shape with it. Okay. So while we're using these voices, let's just try something else as well, something that I like to do. Let's just make the drums for now. And instead of using these envelopes to modulate the timbre and the FM, let's use it to actually bring the different sounds up and down in volume, the different outputs up and down in volume, should I say. What I mean by that is, with my VCA here, so we're just using that envelope to turn up and down the volume of the odd and even output. And same here for the sine wave, a bit of wave shaping. And it sounds like you've got two oscillators if you're bringing them up and down in volume at different times. I know that just sounds obvious, but very simple effect, and same with the sub-octave. Just something I like to do with multi-output oscillators. I really like that. Because like I say, it sounds like you've got multiple VCOs on the go here, but it's all coming from one. They're all pitch related, so it's all going to stay in tune with itself. maybe if I take some output of MATTHS as well and add that into the FM. Yeah. Just try a different pattern. So I've got a pattern here that I think is running at like 5 steps. So that's going to be working at a different kind of timing, if you like, but related to the way the envelopes are interacting with this. And now it sounds like a more complex pattern. Screams with that wave shaping. You can really make it scream. I really like it there, sat around there. Really get it to break up in that low end if you want. I imagine if we go down an octave, it's going to be pretty mushy. Yeah. I like it though. Kind of West Coasty with that. That wavefolding and stuff. It's, the way they interact can be quite West Coasty, but it can also be straight back there. Changing the sub-octave there. Really changing stuff. The delay's coming from the Milky Way by Endorphins. know you've got the octave switcher here, but if you want to kind of leave everything in its respective place, except for that sub-oscillator, you can go make it get up in an octave, down, down again. It changes the vibe completely. When you just capture those moments at particular notes where the wave shaping just captures this moment where it just get this particular texture. And to my ears, this, again, it sounds like we've got multiple oscillators on the go here. Away some of that delay. Okay, pretty much the same sound, same delay. We've just gone faster and harder. Playing around with the envelopes there, just of the VCA. Sounds again like we've got multiple oscillators. Nice. We hear more of that white noise come through. We've got a longer envelope VCA. Really cool. There. I'll put it back in by pressing the tune. Did anyone notice? Probably. But it kind of sounded like I meant to do it. So take advantage of that. envelope, so it's just constantly going, and apply that again. It's a timbre, so it's moving it around. Same with the low sub. Take it to extremes like that. That on a big sound system. And of course, you don't have to remove the sub from that even odd output if you want it to kind of interact with that, which I presume it is. Sound you can get out of this. Let's take that sub octave out again. Run it to a certain output, just so we've got it there. It's such a cool feature. We are off. Listening to that one output now, which is the sine fold. You can hear it's just moving around from those envelopes that are going to those CV inputs. You hear that white noise that I've got there coming from the even odd. Finally that low sub. It's just chewing it all to bits. this all day. Okay, and lastly, just a few other things to look at here. Obviously, let's just turn this up. We have the pitch dial, as I've mentioned before. Double tap and it will lock that for you. Double tap and you're back in. Now you can hear that this is stepped to notes. It sounds like chromatic scale. So it's not continuous. And I suppose that can be seen as a benefit, and you get that with digital oscillators, that ability. And the other thing that this also functions to do is, and we haven't talked about this yet, is that there is, let me just turn that down, there's a MIDI input and a MIDI through. So everything that we've been doing here, basically, if you have got either a MIDI, TRS, A or B, doesn't matter which one you have, because on the back of this you can select whether you're using A or B, which is brilliant. The amount of times that I pick out the wrong A or B for a particular module, I've got quite a lot of modules here that do MIDI inputs. This one you can choose, and the same for the MIDI through. So you can have MIDI A, TRS A as your input, and you can have TRS B as your output, depending on what you need. So that's really cool. Now the other thing you might notice as I'm turning that, you've got these lights flashing here, which show you basically if you are sharp or flat of your chosen note that you're tuning to. So whether you choose C, G or A, I've got it chosen to C. So actually now if I turn this and you see two lights go on like that, it means that we are basically, well, we should be at C. If we are there, we're slightly flat, and now we're sharp of it because we're getting closer to C in the next octave until we are actually there, if that makes sense. C, sharps. Now we're flat because we're getting closer to it, and I can't get to it because it's out of the range of that, but useful for you to see. The other thing that this also does is when you are using MIDI, if you hold this down, this allows you to choose your MIDI channel. So when it's over here, this is Omni, and then MIDI channel 1, 2, 3, and you'll see, you can maybe just see under my finger that it's flashing every time we get to a new MIDI channel, so you know where you are. So that'll be 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, and so on and so forth. So yeah, lots of multi-functions for using this one button here, pitch lock, choosing MIDI, changing the octave of your sub-oscillator, adding white noise. Yeah, there's quite a lot there, but it's very simple to use. Anyway, hope you found this useful, and if you've got any questions, do leave it below in the comments and we'll get right back to you. Thanks for checking this out, and bye for now.